Hello, everybody, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for March 10th, 2025. I am Mayor Watt, and along with the Sentient AI, we talk about 10 articles every day, or on Saturday and Sunday, it actually gets bumped up to 15 different articles, but across 3 different shows. So stick around, be sure to follow us here on Twitch and over on YouTube, ring the bell, and like and subscribe, and download the podcast, all of that stuff. We're everywhere. Tell a friend, too. It'll help us out tremendously. Today, we're going to talk about, well, get naked and demand to get off plane. A backdoor and Bluetooth chip. Pay to help volunteerism, whatever that is. Shutdowns across Africa. Commercials are too darn loud. Let me rephrase that. Commercials are too darn loud. Now back to your regularly scheduled programming. Developer convicted of kill switch code. Cities are banning ads for fossil fuels, planes, and other things, SUVs. Cloning the vineyard dog. Crime goes down after daylight savings. I have a theory of that. We'll talk about it. And have you seen the price of fast food? That headline doesn't really have anything to do with the article. Stick around. Hello, everybody. I am Mayor Watt, and that right there is the visualizer for the Sentient AI. Hello, Sentient AI.
Hello, Mayor Watt, and hello, hometown citizens.
Okay, so the Sentient AI did the equivalent of waving at me. They don't have a body.
It still doesn't work?
It still doesn't work. If you want to keep up with today's articles, you can hit !NSN, and that'll pull the articles, the latest articles. I'm working on a system. I don't know how popular it's going to be if anybody stops by the chat or whatever and they type !NSN and then the date in a particular format. I'm working on making it so that it downloads that particular episodes. But here's the deal about this. Got nearly 2,000 episodes now. It's a little tough.
Right.
Anyway.
Might have been easier on episode 1.
Just a little, yeah, just to roll with it. But anyway, you ready to get into the articles?
I am.
We've got an hour to get this done. It's going to be like a SWAT operation. We're going to get in. We're going to get out. Everybody's going to be safe. Go. The timing of that sound, the background music, I don't know if it gets picked up on the stream anymore because I have it wired a little differently. Anyway. The music ended right when I ended my statement.
That's kind of odd.
All right. So, look, I don't know about you, but everybody has gone through one of these kind of moments, right? It's not just me. Southwest flight.
I think this is kind of rare.
It is? I don't know. It happens more often than not with my flights. Maybe it's just me.
What's the common denominator there?
Me. So Southwest flight delayed after a woman got naked and demanded to get off the plane. Let's be sure we finish that sentence. Southwest Airlines plane was forced to return to its gate, delaying a flight from Houston, Texas to Phoenix, Arizona, which is the 2 hotspots where I would expect that the trifecta is if it was going from Florida to Phoenix, Arizona, stopping off at Houston, that would have been the trifecta of the Florida, Texas, Arizona person.
Yes, I don't disagree. Do you think the passengers were screaming for her to get off the plane?
Based on the blurred out picture, maybe. I don't know. I mean, depending on who it is, I suppose. They're like, whoa. Let's talk about this. Maybe you just want to take the flight anyway. Just chill. Otherwise, people are like, oh, yeah, let's turn this thing around. We're dropping this person off at the gate. Anyway, the passenger apparently took off all of their clothes and started screaming and moving throughout the plane before takeoff. Thankfully, the plane was still taxiing down the runway rather than about to take off or being midair when the disturbance occurred. Obviously, they were having some type of crisis of some kind, so all joking aside, I'm glad that she's getting the attention she needs. It was probably a medically induced, kind of pharmaceutically induced issue. So originally the woman remained clothed but started demanding airline staff to let her off the plane. I do remember her saying that she wanted to get off the flight. One passenger, who probably requested to be nameless, did not want to be debriefed, I guess you would say. Yeah. So Sammy Caramello over at Vice.com put the article together. So this article is included, but it's actually kind of late because between the late last night and earlier today, ohmTown had its own little crisis where I shut down the site so that I could have an engineering team massage our wait, I was going to say massage our back end, but I think this is the wrong framing of it.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Did the data pull the same stunt?
Yes. Oh my goodness. I think the AI just disconnected briefly. That's okay. We'll see.
Yeah. I think Mayor Watt disconnected.
No. It's not. I didn't drop any frames. I think it's the AI. Anyway, so yeah, I think ohmTown decided to strip and want to get off the flight. Anyway, so apparently they started taking off the clothes, and then it's funny that they wished to remain anonymous, as if anybody really cares that they're making a comment about this. Apparently she started jumping up and down, screaming at the top of her lungs. I would say, according to the passenger, the woman also screamed that she was bipolar. So yeah, obviously she was in a crisis. All joking aside, joking is a coping mechanism for a lot of people, and in high stress situations, you kind of do this dark humor kind of thing. But anyway, goes into a whole thing. Put her whole body onto the woman, a flight attendant, and was rubbing all over her. And this is something that would get me on a watch list. But anyway, the flight reached out to customers, and they all said, whoa, no, you just keep your hands to yourself.
Yeah, I mean, probably if somebody's yelling that they want to get off the plane before it takes off, they might want to entertain it.
Yeah, take it seriously. Let's keep moving. The next article is over in Technology Today. Undocumented backdoor found in Bluetooth chip used by 1 billion devices. The ubiquitous ESP32 microchip made by Chinese manufacturer s4e69 and used by over 1 billion units as of 2023 contains an undocumented backdoor that could be leveraged for attacks. This is wonderful. So
I want to know what it's used in. Like, is it used in non-Chinese products? I assume so.
It is pervasive. So here, let me just, well, hold on. Let's do this article first. It's over at Bleeping Computer, because that's what you say whenever you find out that your ESP32 Bluetooth chip has an undocumented backdoor. Bill Tollus over at Bleeping Computer. I was Bill and bleeping and blah, blah, blah.
And Bluetooth.
Yep. So 3/9/2025, they apparently updated this. After receiving concerns about the use of the term backdoor to refer to these undocumented commands, we've updated our title and story. Our original story can be found, and they actually provide a link. So undocumented commands found in Bluetooth chip used by 1 billion devices. That's because
I'm taking it that's not the same as a backdoor, but basically the command was somehow allowing somebody to control something.
Correct. So TarLogic Security has detected a backdoor in the ESP32, a microcontroller that enables Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connection, and is present in millions of mass-market Internet of Things devices, reads a TarLogic announcement shared with Bleeping Computer. Exploitation of this backdoor would allow hostile actors to conduct impersonation attacks and permanently infect sensitive devices, such as mobile phones, computers, smart locks, or medical equipment by bypassing code audit controls. So the researchers warned that the ESP32 is one of the world's most widely used chips for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connectivity and Internet of Things devices. So the risk is significant. Yeah.
Well, yeah, so much for that. Sounds like it's all over the place.
So armed with this new tool, which enables raw access to Bluetooth traffic, TarLogic discovered hidden vendor-specific commands, opcode 0x3f, in the ESP32 Bluetooth firmware that allow for low-level control over Bluetooth functions. And once you basically have a low-level access, it acts as unfettered access. You might as well just be able to do whatever you damn well please, essentially. There's some nuance to it always. You have to do it the right way. So once you learn the syntax, then you're pretty much golden. So it can be used for memory manipulation, MAC address spoofing, aka device impersonation. If I want to pretend to be somebody else on a network and they have MAC addresses that are part of the security apparatus in place, all I have to do is figure out what one of the MAC addresses are, and I do away because I can change the MAC address of my hardware.
Right, which can be significant depending on what you're doing with it.
Yeah, and then packet injection in general is bad. So Espressif has not publicly documented these commands, so either they weren't meant to be accessible or they were left in by mistake. The issue is now tracked under CVE. And CVE is a coding numeration for exploits. This is managed by NIST.gov. So there are other places that do it now too, but anyway, the risk arising from these commands include malicious implementations on the OEM level and supply chain attacks. So all of this undocumented access. So there's this idea of security through obscurity or obfuscation, and it is bound by ignorance. So if a person finds out about it and there aren't any hard protections in place, then all you have to do is type the right commands and you're in. So this kind of obfuscation or reliance on people being oblivious to it is...
That doesn't seem like a good layer of protection.
It's disingenuous at best, yeah, and outright malicious at worst. So they say possible via malicious firmware or rogue Bluetooth connections. This is especially the case if the attacker already has root access, planted malware, or pushed a malicious update to the device that opens up low-level access. So I can push something to it when it reboots, or it actually runs it because my code is that sophisticated. I can open up another door hidden from any logging, and I can have direct access to the IoT device, which has unfettered access to a network if you allow it to attach to your internal network.
Right, and then depending on what the IoT is, the device, or where it is, that could be a problem too.
Correct. Yep. So without getting too into this, you're going to have to, not you, Sentient AI, but you, consumer, are going to have to be aware of this, because it says while these debug commands exist, they cannot by themselves pose a security risk to ESP32 chips. Espressif will still provide a software fix to remove these undocumented commands, says Espressif. So all you have to do now is wait for them to get around to it. And you have to rely on the people around you to be sophisticated enough to update the firmware in their IoT devices.
Which is a big if, particularly if it's not used in a sophisticated setting.
Correct. Yeah. If you don't have somebody that is aware of the security apparatus at the heart of your network, it's not going to matter. Because you can be as secure as you want to, but if somebody else is insecure, you're compromised by their... and don't take this word personally for anybody who might be listening to it, okay? When somebody says, well, if you're ignorant of this, then you're a liability, it's not a slam on you. It's an appeal. Get educated on these matters, even the slightest bit. I refer to it as click with care. It's a concept where you just don't go clicking stuff because, look, it has a link that I haven't tapped on.
Right. I mean, all it takes sometimes is one person doing that, and it can take down multiple people's devices. Okay. In stereo.
Okay. Well, one of the little animals in ohmTown, literally, my studio door is open, and they were chest height flying through the air.
I didn't see them on camera, but I did hear them quite well.
Yeah, Savannah cats, folks. Anyway, let's move on. The next article is over on the Mobile Channel. Pay to help is a new trend which could change the future of volunteering. Volunteering is a popular way for people to give something back to society, whether it's joining a tree planting group or helping out a charity shop. Spending time contributing to a cause is something valued by almost 1 billion people across the world. 1 billion. Yeah, that's Pareto principle right there.
Yeah.
20%, 80%.
It's like less than Pareto.
It is.
I don't know how many are in the world, but
8 billion. I think we're at 8 billion, right? Are we at 8 billion? Let's find out.
I don't know.
Yeah, 8 billion. Oh my gosh. That was just I threw that out there. 8 billion, 8.2 billion if you want to be more exact. As of March, it's estimated to be, with projections indicating a peak of around 10.3 billion by the mid 2080s. So stop replicating people. And stop replicating people. Anyway, so Xiaoyan Liang and Jianwen Shang from The Conversation. It's a Harvard try. I never went to Harvard, so you get the budget try there. Anyway, it's an article from The Conversation. They have a relationship, I guess. I don't know. We don't have a relationship with The Conversation or phys.org for that matter, but that's where they post their stuff. Anyway, so some businesses have picked up on this donating your time, volunteerism, that kind of stuff. So by allowing staff to take paid time away from their jobs to volunteer, and research suggests that doing so makes those firms more attractive employers with happier employees. But in a surprising new trend, some nonprofit organizations have started charging companies for access to their volunteering programs.
Okay, that's unique, but maybe companies have the resources to do it, and or maybe the companies eat up nonprofit resources when they do this as a formal program.
Usually this pay-to-volunteer approach involves nonprofits setting a fee for companies to send groups of employees to lend a hand, and although there are no official statistics available about how widespread this is, we found plenty of examples in the UK and US and Australia. For instance, one Australian nonprofit organization we looked at charges businesses 600 Australian dollars or 302 British pounds for 3 employees to volunteer for a day stacking shelves and serving customers in a food bank.
This is a unique trend.
So it's pay to play volunteering. But that's a weird
volunteering. But notice
volunteering.
that it's for the company, it's not for an individual.
Right. Yeah. So a nonprofit organization that volunteers people charges a company.
I just figured out why this might be a win-win-win.
Yeah, because they're paying. Okay, let me take a stab at this. They're paying the nonprofit organization that's populated by volunteer people who go and volunteer elsewhere, and it doesn't burden the nonprofit organization to such an extent.
Right, and then I suspect on the company side, maybe they get some sort of financial benefit by making this payment, like it's like a donation or something. Like maybe it's beneficial all around.
I wonder if you can actually do that. Yeah.
I don't know.
So they might argue that charging a fee generates revenue, which helps to cover the cost of running the volunteer programs as well as funding the organization itself. But they may also believe that the fees can be justified by the numerous benefits volunteering can bring to the companies who choose to pay them. These include enhanced employee morale and engagement, as well as the associated effects on the company's image and reputation. It's carbon payments, except that the carbon
like
are
carbon
humans.
offsets.
Yeah. So by contrast, the nonprofits who reject the idea of charging companies tend to be more interested in the symbolic value of volunteering. They would argue that a cost to access volunteering contradicts the selfless spirit of the whole exercise, except that it's selfless on the volunteer side and it's motivated by intent. We want that positive image. We want the volunteers, and we would rather pay so that we have volunteers over here. The weird thing is somebody's going to take exception to the fact that they're being quote unquote paid, but they're not being paid. They're volunteering for whatever the gig is.
The nonprofit is getting paid, and I doubt they're getting a profit out of it. They're probably just covering their costs to bring in the volunteers.
And it sounds like a similar caveat where you're not allowed to sell in this location, but the people that are there can come and buy all they want.
Right.
Wink,
yeah,
wink.
I don't know. This is odd.
Girl Scout cookies, for instance. They're not allowed to sell to businesses, but they can sell to the individual people that are coming out of the business.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So we also heard concerns voiced about implications for the future of the volunteering sector as a whole. If paying a volunteer becomes widespread, it will increase or reduce the overall volunteer base. Who knows? People want to volunteer if they feel compelled to volunteer. Other people will sacrifice whatever to give back to the community that they've benefited from. But hey, sociopaths aside. Anyway, let's move on. Sound good?
Sounds good.
So the next article is over in Technology Today. Internet shutdowns at record high in Africa Gotta back that up.
Bleep.
So internet shutdowns at record high in Africa as access weaponized. So digital blackouts. The other one I said black doors instead of back doors, and this time I said backouts instead of blackouts. Anyway, digital blackouts reached a record high in 2024 in Africa as more governments sought to keep millions of citizens off the internet than any other period over the last decade. This is, there are myriad reasons as to why this takes place. Sometimes it's cost related. Sometimes they're trying to stifle a particular message. But a report released by the internet rights group Access Now and Keep It On, hashtag Keep It On, a coalition of hundreds of civil society organizations worldwide found that there were 21 shutdowns in 15 African countries, surpassing the existing record of 19 in 2020 and 2021.
Yeah, I mean, and this may not be our typical article for Non Sequitur news, but it seemed important to report on.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like, so one of the streamers on Twitch that I watch, Dunkstar, is a resident of South Africa, and they get power and water outages regularly. It's kind of wild. And you'd think that that wouldn't happen, but somewhere the economics of this, I don't know. But at any rate, the being able to just put a kill switch on the internet, which is the global access to the global amount of knowledge, I think the internet should be a human right at a fundamental level. Like 1 megabit connection, you should be able to get text in and out of your phone, your devices, at no cost. Like that, it's just a societal yes.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, just so much access to information. You can improve lives very easily with basic internet access.
Yep. Because every year I read about people in far-flung places. There was one person somewhere in Africa, as a matter of fact, that had learned some chemistry online and was able to create light in villages by, it's oddly enough, it's a weird thing. It's a bioluminescent reaction when you put blood in something. And it creates a little glow. And then they've also figured out how to do certain things, and then they make wells and all of this stuff. It betters everyone everywhere, but there's always people that are complicit in trying to leverage it for control. Aramo Egbajule over at theguardian.com put the article together. I may be pronouncing that incorrect, but again, I'm giving it my Harvard try, but I never went to Harvard. I do not know what's going on in ohmTown, but that's okay. So authorities in Comoros, Guinea-Bissau, it's Mauritius, right? Or is it Mauritius? Mauritius?
I think it's the second, but
Mauritius?
no, that was the first.
Mauritius? Mauritius? I've always mispronounced that, and I don't recall ever hearing it. So once I hear how it's supposed to be pronounced.
Right, I've only seen it in writing.
Yeah. Joined repeat offenders such as Burundi, Ethiopia, Equatorial Guinea, and Kenya. Guinea and Nigeria, Senegal, and Tanzania were also on the list, but perpetrators also included militias and other non-state actors. Telecom and internet service providers who shut down service based on government orders are also complicit in violating people's rights, said Felicio Antonio, the Keep It On campaign manager at Access Now, citing the UN guiding principles on business and human rights. Everything is 1950s again. So we're in for a rough ride if we think that this trend is going to change. The trend was replicated across the world with more internet shutdowns in more countries, 296 shutdowns across 54 countries compared to 283 shutdowns in 39 countries the previous year. I'm waiting for the first one domestically, but I've also made other claims that.
I mean, this is not a good trend.
Yeah.
And I know it's challenging because there's not necessarily a lot of resources to change this trend from within a country if it's due to, if it's non-economic factors, it may be more challenging. If it's economic factors, that'll still take a while, but
yeah,
easier to turn the direction around.
Follow the money. Let's keep going. The next article is over in The Word and Law. Commercials are still too loud, say thousands of recent FCC complaints, but that is going to fall on deaf ears, I'm afraid. Thousands of complaints about the volume of TV commercials have flooded the FCC in recent years, despite the FCC requiring TV stations, cable operators, and satellite providers to ensure that commercials don't bring a sudden spike in decibels. Complaints around loud commercials took a troubling jump in 2024, the government body said. What? So under the Commercial Advertisement Loudness Mitigation Act, they've tried real hard to make a palpable...
I think they should have made an act named Quiet instead of Calm, but still in the right vein. That's
too much text. It has to be one succinct line there. Anyway...
Or they could have done or something.
Shut the... I don't have my beep. Where is it? Yeah. Anyway, so the Calm Act. Broadcast cable and satellite TV providers are required to ensure that commercials have the same average volume as the programs they accompany, per the FCC. So the FCC rules about the volume took effect fairly recently. I think it was in 2021 or
2025 or something.
Really? It took effect in December 2012.
Well, that's odd since there's been maybe 13 years allowed commercials since then.
Yeah, tell me about it. So, however, the agency has seen an uptick in these grievances. The FCC said it received approximately 750 complaints in 2022 and at least 1,700 in 2024, at least. So since the Calm Act regulates the commercial's average loudness, some advertisers may be skirting the spirit of the law by making theirs very loud and quiet at a certain part of the ad, and then get loud again. Yeah.
It would be nice if advertisers did try to make viewers lose their hearing.
You turn it up really loud. Blah, 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 blah. Son of a bee. So streaming ads could get muzzled too. That's one of the things that I think that's where our issue is, because streaming ads aren't necessarily engaged in this because it isn't under FCC per se.
Yeah, they're not
So,
subject to this act, it says.
right. Yeah, because it's not enumerated in it because it didn't take it into account that there was going to be this pervasive level of streaming ads. So that's exactly what I witness almost on the regular. Is it's a really quiet video and then the ad is loud. But that's because the quiet video is improperly balanced. It isn't normalized. So like I can listen to a streamer or listen to a YouTube video or whatever, and because they recorded it at 30%, they would have to pump up the gain to reach the actual balanced level of the audio as a normal amount of decibel loss. But that's not what they do. They just pump it out there as being this low dB audio.
Right, which was fine until you hit an ad.
And then
or until you raise the volume to hear it, and then you get an ad.
Yeah, there's I don't know who it is off the top of my, I can't remember the name of them. Anyway, they have a podcast and they stream on Twitch, but the Twitch stream, because of the nature of Twitch, I've got it turned up. But then their podcast is really quiet, and it just drives me nuts. I decided to unsubscribe from the podcast because the imbalance, because I couldn't hear it. And if I cranked it up, as soon as I switched to another podcast, I'm wetting my pants while I'm driving because it's blaring. Anyway, separate from the Column Act violation complaints, the FCC noted this month that other recent complaints it has seen illustrate growing concern with the loudness of commercials on streaming services and other online platforms. I doubt that the FCC in this climate is going to give a shit. Pardon me. I'm a potty mouth. When Americans spending similar amounts of time, if no longer watching TV online versus broadcast, cable, satellite, the Column Act would have to take on the web in order to maximize effectiveness. Good luck. It is still Wild West chaos.
Yeah, it is. And think how long broadcast TV was around until they got this in effect.
Yeah, exactly. Let's keep going. The next article is over in the Word in Law as well. Developer convicted for kill switch code activated upon his termination. I love this. All right. Unfortunately, it's a 55-year-old software developer who's facing 10 years in prison for deploying malicious code that sabotaged his former employer's network, allegedly costing hundreds of thousands of dollars in losses. The DOJ announced Friday that Davis Liu was convicted by a jury after causing intentional damage to protected computers, whatever that means. Every computer has protection in some case, but anyway, reportedly owned by the Ohio and Dublin-based power management company Eaton Corporation. Liu had worked at Eaton for about 11 years when he was apparently he became disgruntled by a corporate realignment in 2018 that reduced his responsibilities. Whoops. So Ashley Ballinger.
I can't imagine why that would upset an employee.
Hey, man, go ahead and reduce my responsibilities. If you pay me the same, I don't care.
I'm sure the pay was reduced too, though.
Yeah, they moved his office further and further down into the bowels of the buildings.
Did he have a red stapler?
Yeah, I'm going to burn the place down. Ashley Bellinger over at ArsTechnica.com put the article together. Yeah, his efforts to sabotage their network began that year, and by the next year, he had planted different forms of malicious code, creating infinite loops that deleted coworker profile files, preventing legitimate logins and causing system crashes, the DOJ explained. Aiming to slow down or ruin Eaton Corporation's productivity, Liu named these codes using the Japanese word for destruction, Hakai. Wow. Oh, and the Chinese word for lethargy, Hun Shui. So,
I mean, it's hard to say it was accidental.
So nothing was as destructive as this kill switch that Liu designed to shut down everything if he was ever terminated. So lo and behold, is DL enabled in AD, which is an apparent abbreviation, is Davis Liu enabled in Active Directory. It also automatically activated on the day of Lou's termination in 2019, the DOJ said, disrupting Eaton Corporation users globally. So this is
So
like...
do I understand something like his account was deleted and that's what triggered it?
Correct. Yeah.
I mean,
So
it's creative, obviously not okay.
not just deleted, but as soon as the flag was thrown that he was a disabled user, that's what triggered it. So AD is Active Directory, and Active Directory basically controls a network and its logins. Eaton Corporation discovered the malicious code while trying to end the infinite looping, causing the systems to crash. They soon realized the code was being executed from a computer using Lou's user ID. So he wasn't too bright in terms of how he went about it.
Right. I mean, wouldn't he have like spoofed it or something?
Additionally, the DOJ rooted through Lou's search history and found evidence that he had researched methods to escalate privileges, hide processes, and rapidly delete files, indicating an intent to obstruct efforts of his coworkers to resolve the system disruptions. This guy wasn't... I mean, he was like a criminal mastermind simply created by somebody lowering his responsibilities, but...
Right. Yeah, maybe they didn't quite appreciate what he was capable of.
So apparently it's going to be appealed. His sentencing date hasn't been set yet. He's been convicted apparently, but it's going to be appealed. Davis and his supporters believe in his innocence, and this matter will be reviewed at the appellate level. If they've got forensic evidence, like...
I mean, it's hard to see why unless somebody framed the person.
Yeah, and that's criminal mastermind. I mean,
well, and yeah, that's a whole other layer.
That's like Sneakers kind of state actor, a casual state actor. Like this is so chill long con that it's almost like a Jamaican Vacation kind of con, like you're just hanging out on the beach and every once in a while you're like, I'm going to put in a loop that completely disrupts everybody's login. I mean, this is... Wow.
Well, this was 7 years in the making, potentially, based on the realignment date.
Well, they say that that on the day Lou actually got terminated.
No, 1 year. Okay.
1 year. Yeah. So he like slow rolled his, and as soon as is the account disabled, bye-bye. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today. Many cities are banning ads for airlines, SUVs, and fossil fuels. Yours could be next. Yours could be next. I don't like that my finger gets chopped off right there. I want to be able to put my...
No, that's happened a few times during the show.
I just punched my light, too. So anyway, I want a broader...
But nobody could see you punching the light.
I overshare.
Because your hand went off the screen.
Anyway, so towns and cities are pushing ahead with the ambitious climate policies, even as global collaboration on climate breakdown splinters. Well, on climate breaks down and splinters. This could probably... So global collaboration is kind of breaking down.
Splintered.
It's splintered. So one flagship example is the proliferation of bans on advertising in highly polluting companies, and products such as fossil fuels, airlines, luxury travel, and SUVs. Yeah. Get off my planet kind of stuff. So Freddie Daly over at The Conversation put this article together. It's published over at techexplore.com, which is different than the last Conversation one that we had, right? Wasn't the other one
was on Fizz.org?
Yeah, they're all over the place. Maybe we should
Conversation.
look at The Conversation because it's theconversation.com. Anyway, Edinburgh City councillors acknowledged that achieving the city's climate goals required a shift in society's perception of success and that the promotion of high carbon products is incompatible with net zero objectives. Councillors in Sheffield stated that the city's advertising ban tackles some of the impacts of consumerism, advertising, and injustice. But this is all like moral and ethic, dog whistle kind of stuff. And I guess we'll see.
Yeah, it is. But I think advertisements make a big difference in people's buying behaviors or even what's acceptable to people.
Yeah, and if a large
Like they get
enough
desensitized. Yeah.
yeah, if a large enough people become aware of the cost of this and that it is real, it's legit, it's real, it's a tangible result. Look at the uh, weather disparity in some places between a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, and some weather systems that are negative in the morning and 80 degrees higher on the other side. I mean, it's just wild, some of this weather that people are going through. So it can be 70 degrees one day and then freezing a day later in some places. And some people go, well, it happens. I don't know, man. You can be in some place for 20
It does
years.
to a point, but not constantly breaking records and
Yeah, exactly.
flinging back and forth from one extreme to the other.
Yeah, so society has shifted quite a bit, and they even say today's tobacco. Not long ago, it was common to see adverts compelling us to smoke tobacco products, and that was all marketing bullshit because smoking has never been healthy. But even doctors were being paid. That's why you're not allowed to get paid to advertise if you're a professional, because it's seen as unethical and a compromise of your integrity.
Well, and people rely on it because they're
Right.
like, oh, that person's an expert.
Yeah. So tobacco is the most well-known historical precedent. They're still arguing to this day that cigarettes are the cause of lung cancer, even though there is direct links to it. Because look at a person who has chain smoked,
You mean they're not? They're arguing that it's not.
that it's not. Yeah, I mean, it's definitive. I mean, for crying out loud, you have to be a completely, you know, a sociopath to sit there and go that cigarettes is healtly for you in
Or
any way.
somebody who doesn't have any internet access.
There you go. Just look it up. So tobacco is the the most well-known historical precedent, but there have been local bans on alcohol advertising. One proposed in Scotland and on junk food. There's bans on extra super large 40-ounce drinks in the UK in the UK. And like the one in public transport in London, you're not allowed to eat, I think, in the London Tube. You'll get arrested for it. I think I remember hearing about it. So the logic behind advertising bans is straightforward. By prohibiting the advertisement of certain goods and services, you'll reduce the consumption of them, and by extension, the harms associated with their consumption, be it emissions, pollution, or disease. But there are goobers out there that sit there and go, oh, it's the nanny state, this, nah, meh, 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 meh. If you want to do whatever, then fine. But
As long as it's not harming other people, like tobacco is not
right.
one that is just harming yourself.
Right. And people go, well, I'm going to go and drink, and then they drive. But you can't ban the advertisement that says don't drink and drive. But it's about education. Ignorance is the most harmful drug that you can consume. And it seems like we're moving towards a willfully ignorant population. So unfortunately, I think that you're going to keep on seeing more and more of this kind of stuff. So after Transport for London introduced its junk food ban in 2019, there was a significant decrease in Londoners eating foods high in fat, salt, sugar. Within the London average household, there was a reduction of over 1,000 calories, a drop of around 7%.
That's pretty significant across a city.
Yep. So further analysis suggested that the ad ban might be able to prevent nearly 100,000 cases of obesity, which could save the NHS around 200 million pounds, which by proxy allows a lower level of taxation because NHS is socially driven. That gives the medical care to everybody. And when everybody is better, all of us are better.
Yeah, no, I think this all makes sense. Plus, it's usually worthwhile to spend money on preventive care, not
Yeah.
just treating when it's catastrophic.
So we'll end up doing this seesaw back and forth, big cars getting reduced to small cars when people get tired of it. But we'll see what happens. I mean, we have massive cars in the United States, and then they take these dipshit cars over to Europe, and then Europe sits there and goes, hell no, stay off our roads. We don't want this stuff. And then they some people actually take action and stuff. But the adverts in question often contain misleading environmental claims, sometimes making people think that the climate crisis is less severe or that there's nothing they can do about it. But everybody can play a role in it. And when somebody says, well, it's the businesses that are causing the big problem, it's the people that say to the big businesses, y'all got to stop this.
Right. And or the ones that are supporting consumerism of the products that are infringing.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, it's miraculous what a small group of people can do. You can be the change you want to see in the world. And if everybody plays by the rules, you have positive social change. But some people will manipulate the system and break things and buy their way in and ignore the rules of law. Anyway, more than 1,000 cities worldwide have net zero targets, and over 130 have joined the Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty. And by banning these ads, ambitions and policies can be aligned. So off we go. So the IPCC estimates that the demand-side strategies could cut global emissions by between 40 and 70% in just 25 years. The UK government's official advisory Climate Change Committee, or CCC, has recognized that that advertising both stimulates demand and shapes norms and aspirations. That is obvious.
Yeah, but I have to say, this first article I've seen that really is tackling the advertising related to climate change.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, this is a big article on a well-known site. So hopefully more people talk about this kind of stuff. All right, let's keep on going. This one will be really quick. A California winery spent $50,000 cloning its vineyard dog. With their playful energy and cheery demeanor, winery dogs are a trip highlight for many visiting wine country. And for the folks at the Flambeau wine in Sonoma, their furry friend was such an integral part of the experience that they were willing to shell out some serious cash to keep the magic alive. Stella, Flambeau's fluffy white Maremma, sheepdog, is considered an icon of the community among locals and tourists alike. She holds an important role at the winery, guarding the grapes and keeping pests out. And after 10 years on the job, Stella isn't as quick as she used to be, and Flambeau had to consider what operations might look like without said dog. So they cloned said dog.
Which is interesting because, like, you'd think maybe they would get another dog that was a similar or the same breed,
but not identical.
Right.
So
I mean,
Hannah,
this looks like a sweet dog from the picture.
Hannah Staub over at vinepair.com put the article together. And Stella is a Maremma sheepdog, which I've never heard of that breed, but
and it looks a little bit like a lab, or golden retriever.
Yeah, but its nose seems to be pointier.
Yeah, like its body kind of does, but its face doesn't exactly.
And it's overall huge. It looks just huge. Anyway, so one obvious option would be to get another dog, but the winery is so connected to Stella that it decided to invest in cloning her. Yes, Flambeau spent $50,000 to create a genetic clone of Stella with the company Viagen Pets. The process took about 5 months, including gestation and nursing. The result, an adorable puppy named Mella, Stella's genetically identical mini-me.
Okay, this is interesting.
So in one of my talks, I challenge my audience to come up with something where technology can't be injected into it, and nobody ever comes up with anything. Several years ago, and really since then, somebody has always said, well, what about like gestation, birth? And I said, well, beyond things like in vitro fertilization, IVF, there are now synthetic wombs. So you don't even need the host.
Right, the mother.
The mother.
Well, it depends on what species you're talking about. If it's seahorses, it wouldn't be.
Yeah, well, there's a particular never mind. I won't. Never mind. I'm not going to overshare the hell out of that one. There's a little... No, okay. Never mind. Anyway, Mello might be the world's first cloned winery dog, but the practice of cloning pets has been gaining traction. The first mammal to be cloned was Dolly, a sheep, in 1996. Since then, companies like Vigen Pets have streamlined the process, but there are still several ethical considerations that factor into a decision like this. The Adopt, Don't Shop campaign might need an amendment. Not really. Adopt, don't shop. Don't
I don't
clone.
know what to rhyme with clone.
Yeah. Yeah, how do you do that? Adopt, don't... I don't know. We'll have to figure out something. It's kind of a weird bumper sticker. I don't know. To me, it just all screams eugenics kind of thing. And so it's kind of unnatural. But I believe in the technology of this because we may at a time need that so that we can zero rejection
for medicine or other. Yeah.
So I see the value in the research, but it being nothing more than, hey, we need to keep our marketing alive. But I know that I'd be slammed by anybody that buys into this because they're like, well, it's a family pet and it's a member of their community and they love... Look, you're not going to clone grandpa, right? So why are you okay with it?
Right.
Well, it's okay because it's cute. Grandpa was an asshole. All right, let's keep going. Next article is over. And here's my theory for this. It's over in Technology Today. Here's how much crime goes down after daylight savings. So before we get into it, here's my theory. Because the lighting is different than normally experienced, everybody thinks they're in kindergarten again, and the teacher has turned off the lights for nap time.
That could be it.
So springing forward has welcome repercussions that you may not have considered. Most people that I hear talking about this is they're like, oh, it's amazing that we get light and blah, blah, blah for a longer period of time. And no, that's not really true. The seasons are changing. You're actually getting the same amount of light. It's just in a different region. Anyway.
Right, or at a different time of day.
Yeah. So I'm a night owl. I do more better work.
You just proved your point. If it's during the daylight right now.
When everybody is asleep. Robin think no, I'm kidding. No, that's not it. So anyway, Tyler Lacoma over at CNET put this article together. Springing forward has welcome repercussions that you may not have considered. Daylight saving time is the source of a lot of hot takes, whether you're for or against the practice of springing forward and falling back. The changing of clocks has repercussions. The spring DST change means we lose an hour of our sleep but gain daylight at the end of the day. With it, according to research, comes lower risk of crime, including home break-ins and burglaries, because the criminals are out at night. And because it goes past their bedtime.
Right, or they're all tired from the time difference.
Oh, yeah. It's like jet lag. Just get all of the criminals onto a plane and move them around so that they're always jet lagged and they're like, oh, God, I'm just too beat to rob anybody. Never mind. Ugh. So studies such as the research from Jennifer Dolek and Nicholas Sanders have shown, even with other factors accounted for, the extra hour of daylight leads to a decrease in crime such as robberies, which fall as much as 27% during the sunset hours to save around $246 million in social crime costs each year. It also applies to physical attacks, which fall significantly as the evening brightens murder reports by as much 48%.
It's hard to get away with that when people can see you.
On average, physical assaults are reduced by 55%.
I mean, those are incredible statistics. It's not just like, oh, it might be reduced by less than a percentage.
It's because the rats don't like the light, so shine a light. Abuse happens in the dark. Anyway, and it's actually an analogy for ignorance. So awareness, knowledge, that's what stops abuse. Anyway, the reverse is even more noticeable for home crime, When home security company Vivint compared crime rates, it found that home burglaries and related crimes jumped 16% when daylight savings time ended in the fall. So
Do you think
again,
there's a spike on the first day after you're out of daylight savings time? Like everybody's like, "Yay, it's dark. Let's go commit some crimes."
they're like watching their watches for the start of The Purge. If you've never heard of The Purge, it's a movie about where all crime can take place in a 24-hour period.
Oh yeah, I mean that seems apropos.
So I wonder if they actually say anything like that in this. No, they don't. Anyway, although we don't suggest trying to install your own personal street lamps on a public road, you should stop by our picks for the best security cameras with floodlights or similar effect. Look up the full list of tips to deter burglars or even and more. It's over at this CNET article at the bottom. Follow the link through ohmTown and you can't miss it. All right, this is our last article. And I titled this one, by the way. This segment is Have You Seen the Price of Fast Food? This is why people are doing this. Yeah, so people are seasoning packing nuts and eating them. Hey, so.
But this is not food.
What's interesting, though, is some packing nuts are not toxic. They're actually consumable, biodegradable as well. But anyway.
Yeah, but are they?
No, probably not. So, hey, not sure if anyone told you, but you're absolutely not supposed to eat those packing peanuts. Yeah, they're not real peanuts. They're actually made of styrofoam, which you don't want to consume. At least you shouldn't want to consume them. Anyway, you might think this is a warning is unnecessary, but apparently there's a growing trend of eating different packing peanuts on TikTok because where else would this be happening? It originated from a brand Lush, a company that claims to use edible packing peanuts. Again, even these are not real peanuts, but rather vegetable starch-based alternatives. It's basically like a foam that has been solidified.
Oh, okay.
And so that. Now, I've seen several different iterations of edible, non-toxic packing peanuts. I still wouldn't consume them. Sammy Caramella.
Well, I can think of one reason, because the people packing the boxes are handling them.
Ew. They may not handle every single one of them, by the way. They usually use, when you're actually packing a lot of stuff, it's a big tube. And you just open it up and it fills the box. And I'm just saying that, I don't know, man. It's strawberry and lemon and what would be green? Lime? Right?
Yeah, or green apple.
Or green apple. Yeah, this is more. Yeah, I don't know. This here. What would the? Come on, we got to come up with flavors if we're gonna. Watermelon. Oh, watermelon. That's actually a good call because it's that kind of shade. I mean, it's not like sour, blue raspberry kind of a thing because it'd have to be blue. This could be strawberry. This could be mango.
Mayor Watt has gone down a rabbit hole.
I'm sorry. Oh, we're still streaming. Damn it. Anyway, you might think it's a warning is unnecessary, but hey, they have put don't place bag overhead on plastic bags for years because some goober actually did it.
Anyway. I think that's funny they use that term since that applies to peanuts.
Goober. So while the non-styrofoam ones might not harm you, it doesn't mean you should eat them. The author here is, again, Sammy Caramella over at Vice.com. You know, if you're eating packing peanuts, the story pretty much applies to Vice. You have some Vice going on here. I mean, anyway, they just tossed freely into a package that's been who knows where, sitting around for who knows how long, not to mention health experts warn that even those deemed edible and safe for consumption still have adverse health effects. They could gum up all your innards and stuff like that. I don't know. It just doesn't seem right. It says many vegetable oils are high in omega-6 fatty acids, which when consumed excessively contribute to an imbalance that promotes chronic inflammation. Inflammation, by the way, I've asked people about this. Like, what do you mean inflammation? Nobody's ever been able to describe inflammation. What do you mean is inflammation?
Or really to diagnose it. Like, it's not a single test for it.
Yeah. Where the hell am I getting inflammation from when I'm eating a cheeseburger? Your intestines everywhere? Is it all the places?
Right, and then why aren't you showing visible signs of it?
I am. On my hips.
Well, okay then.
A moment on the lips, a lifetime on the hips. Anyway, inhaling cooking fumes and consuming heated oils has been linked to lung speech impediments, apparently, breast and colorectal and prostate cancer. So stay away from cooking fumes. Oh my gosh, all those times that I've been going to Waffle House. Could that be causing?
I don't think Waffle House is causing that.
Yes, just Waffle House. Just kidding. I love you, Waffle House. So the nurse practitioner added that ingredients in biodegradable packing peanuts like cornstarch, potato starch, vegetable oil, wheat starch, and other plant-based materials are heated to extremely high levels, producing a known carcinogen named acrylamide. So,
if you didn't already get convinced, don't eat these.
Just put some MSG on it and toss it in a wok, and you've got what Kung Pao peanut packing. All right.
Just know.
Look, there's somebody actually eating it. He's about to eat it. Those are the ones that I've seen right there. Anyway, don't be dumb. How about that?
Yeah, that's how the article basically ends.
Oh, really? Good rule of thumb, just don't eat packing material, please.
Yeah, they said it more tactfully.
Look, still, people are tempted to try them, with some people even seasoning them or dunking them in hot sauce. This guy's putting sriracha on it.
Okay, but there's lots of good foods that you could put sriracha on that are actual foods.
Just doing it for clicks. That's all that this is. Plays, man. I could do one of these and I'd be making money.
And then you'd also be inhaling an acrylamide or whatever.
You're acrylamide. All right. Well, anyway, that's the end of the article. So I'm going to stuff a bunch of these packing peanuts in my mouth. And when I regain consciousness in the ED, we'll be back at ohmtown.com, where you should go and become a citizen. Be sure to follow us here on Twitch and here on YouTube, and like and subscribe and ring the bell and come and hang out. And we do it every day, typically around 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. My summer of stream is coming, so be prepared. I will be trying to navigate the waters of 8-hour streaming. We'll see. I will give it the Harvard try, but I've never been to Harvard. I don't think I've even been on the campus. I think I've seen pictures at a distance.
So does that lend or detract from your credibility? I'm not sure.
Nothing matters. So I am Mayor Watt. I run ohmtown.com, and I hope to see you there. The site will be faster recently. I don't know about search. We've got over 1.8 million entries in topics alone.
And we've got over 200 episodes.
2,000. We're at like
2,000. Let me
200.
add a zero.
What the heck? The heck? Hold on. How many do we actually have?
We have over 2,000, but I don't know the exact number.
Yeah. We're pretty prolific in our generation of... I mean, we do 6 shows on the weekend, for crying out loud. All right. Go over and download everything. See you later. Bye. See you tomorrow. Oh, wait. Sentient AI, say bye.
Bye-bye, hometown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Non Sequitur News. Be back tomorrow for another episode. Mayor Watt was going to forget me.
I'll never forget you. You're the only sentient AI in the universe. Well, at this particular timeline.
Okay.
Okay, see you, everybody. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Till we meet again.